And so we have been looking at this residence for the past several months. Our problem-oriented policing team in Southeast Fresno has looked at this. Some of the difficulties that we have faced is the fact that these are long-term residences in that area. These are owner-occupied residences. Oftentimes when we have neighbors that are feuding that live in apartments or there's ongoing disturbances, we can work with the property owners and get people evicted. But in this case, these are individuals that have lived in that neighborhood next to each other for the past 16 years. We hope that there is no retaliation that occurs as a result of this incident, but the reality is there is a high potential for retaliation. And so we are taking steps to ensure that there is going to be a constant presence of police officers not only in that neighborhood but on that street and in fact in front of that residence until we can at least try to get some type of a calming effect between the families. And so we will continue with that effort. This is an absolute tragedy that has occurred, where we have two people that are killed, one person that is seriously injured, and unfortunately it stems over a history of two families feuding with one another who lived next to each other in the same neighborhood. And it's not uncommon in our city or any city to have ongoing feuds between neighbors. But fortunately, those ongoing feuds don't turn into violence such as we saw yesterday. And again, it's a tragedy, and our hearts go out to the Mendez family for their loss. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
What are police out there doing right now? It's my understanding they're still in the area. Are they waiting for these families just to make sure they don't get out of hand again, or are they collecting evidence, just trying to figure out exactly what happened?
Two things. We're continuing with our investigation. In fact, we were searching the residence. We did, in fact, locate one of the handguns that was used in this shooting, as I understand it. And secondly, though, we're going to have, once the investigation is concluded and our investigators leave the scene, we're going to continue with a uniformed presence at that location until we can determine some type of a long-term strategy that would prevent or minimize retaliation from occurring.
Chief, do you know the nature of the feud? You know, why it got brought about?
We do. I don't at this point in time know the reasons, because as with any verbal arguments or disturbances, you have two and sometimes three or four sides of the story. And so our investigators are trying to determine what led up to this feud between them. And so that, again, is part of the investigation.
Do we know how many shots were fired?
I do not know how many shots were fired at this point in time. Obviously, we had 3 victims struck, but there were numerous gunshots fired out there at the scene.
And what led y'all to believe that one of these suspects was inside the house when SWAT came out, when y'all called him out?
We had information that one of these individuals was seen going back into the residence, and so it was based on that information and the fact that we had two people killed and another person shot, and that the weapons used were outstanding. We felt that the best tactic would be to utilize the SWAT team to secure the residence and look for these suspects.
Hindsight's obviously 20/20. Since you had so many calls for service with these people in the past 5 months or so, is there anything you as a department look back on of, hey, we could have done this and maybe we would have had this outcome?
Well, as we look back since the last part of January, when the initial calls started, again, we've had 4 calls at that location over the past 4 months, and we always try to look at what we can do to prevent these types of things from occurring. That's the purpose of our problem-oriented policing team. Unfortunately, we have to have the cooperation of the individuals involved before we can come up with solutions. And in this instance, we did not have that. And again, I don't know, as we look back, if there's anything that could have prevented this from occurring. But we always try, when there are these ongoing feuds, is to try to intervene as quickly as we can and do whatever we can to minimize the chance from this occurring. But it's hard to control human behavior.
You know, sometimes we hear a complaint that people say, I called the police and they don't do anything about it. What would you say? I mean, is there anything the authorities can do without them cooperating? I mean, can you press charges, or do you have to have someone come forward?
But anytime there is conflicting information where you have two different parties that are giving two different types of statements, and you do not have independent witnesses, and maybe one party is not willing to pursue the case through prosecution, it makes it very difficult for law enforcement and the criminal justice system to fix the problem. And in this instance, at least on two occasions, we had a lack of independent witnesses. We had the inability to determine what in fact truly occurred. And when that happens, it's difficult to prosecute a case or to even make an arrest.
Would the fear of retaliation again after this event, what would you say to the other neighbors that are in the area? I mean, we've counted 20, 30 kids that are in that area. If the retaliation is similar to what we've already seen, what can you say to the neighbors that live in that area?
Well, what we can say to the neighbors in the area is that we're going to have a constant uniform presence in that neighborhood until we can find some long-term solutions that would minimize the chance of any further violence from occurring. We cannot make these property owners move. There are some actions that we are looking at initiating, but those are long-term strategies. But for the short term, we're going to make sure that we have a strong presence of officers on that street.
And David Placencia, the young man who was shot in the face, what is his connection to the Mendezes? Is he a cousin, or is he just a friend that was there?
He's a friend.
He's just a friend, okay.
Are there any gang affiliations at all involved?
There is we believe that one of the Solis brothers is a Bulldog gang member, and we are still trying to confirm that, but there is indications that in fact he is, but no other gang association or affiliation that involved.
The mugshots you have of the two wanted suspects, can you say if they have a violent past on their arrest, or is that?
Do you know?
Yeah, it would. They have, all the individuals have prior contacts with the police department, and that you'd be subject to opinion on how violent it is. You know, there's definitely a lot worse and a lot least, but you know, it would be inappropriate to comment on their prior criminal history as it might affect.
Are they a threat to others, or just to the Mendezes as a
They just by the act of what happened last night, yes.
Yeah, both of these outstanding suspects I would consider to be not only potentially armed, but dangerous. They know that they're wanted for 2 counts of murder and attempted murder, and so if anyone sees these individuals, I would just encourage them to not approach them, but give us a call, and we'll get somebody out as soon as we can.
Do you believe they're still in the area, or is there any likelihood that they've fled the state or even the country?
It's hard to determine. I believe that they are still here locally, and we're going to be doing everything we can within our power within the next 24 hours to locate these individuals.
Are they next door neighbors, or are they crossing each other? Or?
They're actually 3 addresses, and 2 of them are occupied by the Solis family, and then the 3rd address is the Mendez family. So 4681 and 4687 are the Solis family, and then 4677 East Turner is where the Mendez family live.
And I guess one thing leading to the standoff, so like when this whole ruckus broke out last night, you guys think that everybody at the Mendez house fleed outside to check what was going on, and that's where you think a Solis might live inside their house?
No, it wasn't their house that we were going into 4677.
No, it was the Solace residence that we went to.
Yeah, it would have been the other 2 residences that we did the search on. Okay, thank you very much.